Okay, let's talk about in more detail what happens when replica set failover occurs. If you have 3 MongoDB nodes in a replica set, and one of them is the primary, and the others are secondaries, and you have your application, and if that application is using PyMongo, then the driver has a connection open to all members of the replica set. When the failover occurs, when the primary steps down and an election occurs and one of these secondaries becomes primary, during this interval, anywhere from half a second to 3 seconds, the driver won't be able to do writes or reads to the replica set. Now, it won't be able to do writes because in MongoDB, all writes go to the primary, and during this short time before the election is complete, there is no primary. And it won't be able to do reads because by default, reads also go to the primary unless you specify a read preference and say that you'll also allow secondary reads. And we're going to go over that a little bit later. So now eventually an election will occur. And then this thing, let's say this second node here, will be elected primary. And at that point, the writes and reads can resume. So let's see what happens in a naive implementation when we try to write to MongoDB and a failover occurs and there is no primary for a short amount of time. Here's our naive program that's going to write into MongoDB. So you can see here that it's going to get a connection to the replica set, M101, and it's going to seed it with all 3 hosts. And it's initially going to delete everything in the things collection using delete many with an empty document. And then it's going to try to insert documents into this collection, 500 of them, each with an underscore ID equal to I, the integer. And then it's just going to print that it inserted them. So let's run that program and then see what occurs. All right, to run this program, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect to Mongo, and we're going to run rs.status and find out the primary is running at 27019. So let's connect to the primary at 27019 and be ready to do something. Be ready to step down the primary. And then over here, let's run this thing. So we're going to run python insert naively.py. If we do that, we can see these inserts start occurring. And now we're going to run rs.stepdown to step down the primary. So we step down the primary and the shell reconnects. And if we run over here, we can see that this program has just closed, has exited. So if you don't do anything special, you're going to get an exception in PyMongo. And you'll get this for reads or writes. And you can see that the result is that the program exits if you're not catching exceptions. So for instance, it's an auto reconnect exception, which is the type of exception that you will get during failover. And since it's not caught, it will simply exit. So if you want to do more than exit, you're going to need to catch your exceptions on your reads and your writes and your updates within MongoDB. All right, now it's time for a quiz. What will happen if the following statement is executed in Python during a primary election? Here's the statement. Insert will fail, program will continue. Insert will succeed to new primary because failover is automatic within MongoDB. Insert will fail, program will terminate, or insert will succeed and program will terminate.